True Crime Society podcast contains adult themes and violence and is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. And if you'd like to skip the intro or move to any specific part of the podcast, please refer to the timestamps listed in the episode description. Thank you. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the True Crime Society podcast with Stephanie and Olivia. It is October 3rd, and we're back recording. Woohoo! We had some time off.
It feels like even though it was quite a big break, really, like it was almost 2 weeks in between recording, feels like it went super quick.
Yeah, it did. And I was saying on Patreon, I've been dealing with drama at work, and I'm just exhausted between everything. So it feels like I didn't even have a break. Because, it is still a break to not record, but I still have to edit the episodes weekly. So yeah. I still had work to do for the podcast, but it is what it is. We still had our one. I feel like we sound like a downer. We're excited to be back.
yeah, it's exciting actually. It's feel a bit refreshed.
Yeah, I do like recording and I like talking about things and all this, but I don't like all the other things, like having a job and all that. That makes me tired.
All the unnecessary
I prefer
things.
to do this. Yeah. So sucks the fun out of the fun things like podcasting. But so yeah, I mentioned in the last episode that I was going to New Hampshire to babysit my nephew, who is 5 months old, and that was the first baby I'd ever really watched. And I did that. Me and Mike went and we watched that baby, and it was fine. It was good. He got a little sad sometimes, but I dealt with it. We watched, when he got a little cranky in the afternoon, we put on one of those dancing fruits and vegetables videos on YouTube, and he liked that and got over it. So it was a success, and I had fun doing it. So it was nice to hang out with my little nephew.
Oh, that's good.
And what's been going on with you?
Nothing. So when I say nothing, we're on vacation at the moment. So I'm recording from the Gold Coast in Queensland. Beautiful sunny day. I was just saying on Patreon, because we're on a high-rise building, I can look out and see the ocean. There's whales jumping. But I had a very Australian thing happen to me the other week. I took my daughter out for lunch. We were sitting at this cafe that we like to go to, and I don't know, it's probably the same there. They always say, don't feed the, I don't know, do they say don't feed the birds? Here, you know, if you throw French fries, for example, you'll get a flock of seagulls and stuff like that.
It's not as much in New York because we don't have birds like that. Well, in the city with the pigeons, but when I go down south or to the beach, you definitely don't want to feed the seagulls because 8,000 of them will come.
So obviously that's the thing. We never throw food or leave food because you don't want to encourage them. But we were just sitting at this cafe under an umbrella. It was all fine. And all of a sudden, a kookaburra, not even I've never in my life, and I'm pretty old now, I've never, ever, ever had this happen before. A kookaburra flew down, literally stood on the table, not even swooped, came down, stood on the table and started eating off my daughter's plate.
I was oh, you guys started without me?
So I shoooed it away. And I'm everyone was looking, we were all in shock. I'm this is the most game kookaburra. It had no fear. It just didn't care. And we're laughing. We're oh, okay, you're pretty funny. And then about 5 minutes later, it came and did it again.
Oh my God.
So we ended up having to cover her. And it was only her. It didn't do it to me. We had to cover her food with a napkin so it would stop doing it. But it was so, I was just what is going on? Everyone was just in shock. and then
they must have heard you say how you thought they were cute on the podcast once.
I was should she still eat it? Because I'm birds sometimes have diseases.
Are gross.
But I'm do you know what? It was fine. It took a chip and then it left. So, but yeah. It was so strange. And then my brother was telling me the other day they went somewhere. I don't know what they were eating. It was something green. I don't know if it was a sauce or something that was green. And they said a lorikeet, a parrot. I don't know what you guys have them. Do you have lorikeets?
Yeah, I know what it is.
So a parrot type bird. It flew down and it dunked its head in whatever the sauce was.
Really?
And they were just oh my goodness, what is going on? The birds are fighting back.
Is this a bad omen or something?
I hope not. I'm not even going to Google it because I don't want to know.
The birds are going crazy.
I know it's meant to be a bad omen if a bird flies into the glass of your house. When birds do that.
Or when they start falling out of the sky or something.
Yeah. If a bird flies into the glass of your house, that's meant to be not great. But I feel maybe stealing the food is not that bad.
No, they're just hungry.
Anyway,
Just
don't
wanna
tell me
hang
if it is. Yeah.
Um, I also wanted to talk about, I watched people who follow me on Instagram. So many people have been messaging me and also telling me I have to tell Olivia to watch the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives
Mormon
show
wives.
that we talked about because we did that episode on Taylor Frankie Paul. And I watched it and I did some Instagram posts on it because everyone was like dying to know my thoughts for some reason. So I went with it. I did it. But if you are on the fence of watching it and you like trashy reality shows, I totally recommend it. It was such a great night, like yes, mindless, but also entertaining enough where you still paid attention. These girls are such bitches. They're such bitches. They're arguing about something new every scene. They are mad about something else every scene at the other one. They're always fighting. You cannot convince me that any of these women have ever liked each other, or maybe two of them will like each other. They'll have like their little one friend in the group, but they all hate the rest of them. It's funny because I actually
being picked up for season 2.
Taylor. Yeah, it is. It's gonna be season 2. Thank God, because it left on a cliffhanger. But I actually do like Taylor. She seems pretty cool. I mean, she did have a lot going on that was not very cool, but she does stand up for herself and what's going on with her life, which I like a lot. She has that shitty boyfriend, Dakota, that we talked about, who is honestly like a nightmare. She has a mom who is a total cunt, and she doesn't give in when they're like talking about, oh, but the religion, blah, 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 and like women aren't supposed to do this. So, I mean, respect to them for being the breadwinners of their households and all of them standing up for themselves. I think it's pretty cool. But the men in this show, disgusting, horrible, mean, shitty people. If you want to just like really hate on some guys who aren't even good looking, that's a great show. They're just like the one guy, the girls were all going to Vegas. Of course, the two controlling boyfriends schemed their way into also going because Taylor was pregnant. He was like, well, I need to be close in case Taylor goes into labor. And the other guy's like, oh, I'm just going to come too and we can hang out. So the one guy, he had the girl give him $2,500 to gamble with because she's the breadwinner, because she makes money on TikTok and he's in medical school, I guess. So then he's gambling all night with her money, and the one girl planned a trip to Chippendales. And this guy, the girl didn't even go, the one in question, because she knew that he was going to get mad. She didn't go. And this guy just like reamed into her all night being like, you're disgusting. Like, how dare you? You have no morals. Like, I want to get divorced, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, he's at the casino gambling away her fucking money. Like, shut the fuck up.
What is
Horrible
Chippendales?
Oh, it's like, not like male strippers, like a...
Oh, well, that's what I was going to say.
like,
I'm like, that's what it is here.
Yeah.
I thought maybe it was something different there. Yeah, like I know, like male
entertainment.
Yeah.
Maybe like burlesque, but
Yeah.
men kind of. But yeah, like it's just like a show. It's not like they were going and like grinding up on these dudes. But they're just such losers, the men. And Whitney, for anyone who's watched, I cannot stand Whitney. And anyone who knows. You have to watch it. People want us to talk about it.
Maybe I will try this week. I've been watching, which it's not actually even very good anymore, the new Unsolved Mysteries. I feel like they've just jumped the shark. They've released more episodes,
really?
But they're all about like, well, there's one about a murder, which was interesting, which I know I shouldn't really say interesting, but it is a very mysterious murder. But the other ones all seem to be like about paranormal and ghosts.
I hate that.
Like, it's, fine, but nothing interesting. So maybe I do need to move on from my obsession.
Yeah, because people are like, oh my God, Olivia needs to watch it. And then you guys should do like a Patreon.
Yeah, maybe
not like episode, but like a little different thing on Patreon to talk about it. That'd be fun.
All right, I'll get onto it.
Yeah, so everyone watch so we can discuss. That's all I have to say.
Before we get on with the episode, we're going to hear a word from today's sponsor, Ibiana. Imagine solving cryptic clues and immersing yourself in captivating puzzles, all from the comfort of your home. Welcome to Ibiana, a free virtual treasure hunting platform where you can challenge your mind, solve riddles, and compete against others for a chance to win real cash prizes. Best of all, it's absolutely free to play.
With Ibiana, you're not just solving crimes, you're uncovering hidden riddles, decrypting codes, and using your detective skills to solve the mystery. I've been playing Ibiana and have loved how it blends mystery and puzzles into a cash competition. I think it'll keep you on your toes and push your detective skills to the limit. Unlock your inner wit today by downloading the Ibiana app and sign up. Or get more information at ibiana.com. That's IBIANA.com. Join the hunt today. It's free. So, get into our first topic. We have an update about Patricia Wu-Murad, Patty Wu. We did an episode about her last year. She disappeared while hiking in Japan, which we just did a Patreon episode about someone who's missing in Japan also. But she disappeared in Japan in April 2023. She was there. She loved hiking, backpacking, all that type of stuff. On September 15th, they found a backpack and some items that they have now confirmed belong to her.
Despite constant check-ins on the search for his missing wife, Patty, Kirk Murad says he kept getting the same response from Japanese police.
Basically saying, we continued the search, but we have found nothing. And then they cut and pasted that. Every 2 weeks, we continue to search, but we found nothing.
Patty vanished in Japan over a year ago while going for a hike. Since then, the police have been searching with dogs, drones, and by helicopter for her. But on the 17th this month, Kirk got a message that was much different than the usual cut and paste from the police. They told him a Ziploc bag, a sneaker, and a backpack with Patty's name on the inside was found in a stream, a location just north of the trail she should have been on.
And so we were able to ascertain that all of those things did belong to Patty. So we had some excitement. We thought maybe, this was a breakthrough.
While the items gave police a location to focus on, Kirk says there haven't been any new updates 2 weeks later, continuing his roller coaster of emotions through this process.
Now we're back to frustration. The same frustration we've had for the last 17 months where there's nothing.
The emotions have also led to Kirk moving out of Connecticut as his home kept reminding him of his missing wife. As the search continues, his family, friends, and search crews are hanging on to hope that Patty is still alive.
Hoping upon hope that she's still alive and that we can bring her home.
So this is an update about it from the Facebook page that's run by her family. It says, Patty's backpack was found on September 15th. A person who was fishing in Tatsukawa village found a backpack in a stream. He found Patty's email, which is more or less her name, and her family's home address written on a Ziploc bag inside the backpack, and he reported it to the Gojo police station. The next day, on September 16th, with the guidance of the fishermen, police retrieved the backpack and stored it. The backpack was mostly empty with the exception of the Ziploc bag and gravel. After a further search of the area around the original site, they also located a single shoe downstream from where the backpack was found. The items were located in a stream northeast of the Mandakoro guest house where she was last seen. This information was passed along to Kirk and Murphy on September 17th, and Murphy was able to confirm the items belonged to Patty based on a photo that she shared earlier in her trip to Japan. And they posted the picture, and you could see that she has that backpack and
The shoes.
things that were found in the shoes.
Murphy is her daughter too, by the way. Murphy and Kirk is the husband and Murphy's the daughter.
Over the next few days, additional items were found, most of which the family could confirm belonged to Patty. There have been no new updates since September 20th. However, the police have recently released information to local media outlets. The family's been in contact with local volunteers who still live there, as well as members of the U.S. SAR volunteer group. There's also a map that they showed. It says map with red outlines is areas where police have searched. The one without is the last place she was seen and where the backpack was found, of course.
It looks like it's, so they've posted photos of the maps, and it basically looks like that they didn't go up as far as where her stuff was found, is from what I'm getting from this map. They've got kind of block red colors where they've searched, and this is above the area where they've searched in a circle, essentially. So it looks like she was maybe in an area that they didn't think to search at the time.
Yeah, and they searched like a decent sized area. Like it's a pretty long path with some branches, and this just happened to be a bit more north of where they stopped.
It sounds like maybe from this, maybe she deviated from wherever she was planning to hike, and that's why they didn't search that area. Like, I don't, like, obviously maybe something could have happened and someone dumped her stuff, but if it was a hiking accident, maybe she just deviated from where she was planning to go or got lost.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, it's not like they had a ton of information to go off of besides like her plan. It's not
And I
like
think
she was really seen too much into it.
Inn-owner last saw her leaving to go and hike, I believe. So, like,
Yeah,
no one.
like
there was people not on the trail that day, I believe, who didn't see her, and where she was expected to be, and they didn't see her.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have released some photos of the bag. It looks, I think, like it's been out in the elements for over a year. Like, it doesn't look clean. It looks like it's probably been there the whole entire time. There is a photo of one shoe. It looks muddy and wet. Like, it's still distinguishable as a shoe. Like, it's held up pretty well. And they've also released a photo showing her name and email address and things like that in the bag. So I feel like there's absolutely no doubt it is her stuff. And hopefully now they'll be able to narrow down the search area and maybe find her.
Yeah. It made me not like sad. I don't know the right descriptive word, but how basically what helped them identify the backpack as hers was that little paper in the Ziploc bag. So it's like that's literally what it was meant for if she like lost the backpack. So I just imagined her like writing that out and putting it in the Ziploc bag. And you kind of think, oh, better safe than sorry. Like, this isn't ever going to come into use, or I'll never need this. But then it's just like, look at what happened. And it ended up being very helpful.
Yeah. So yeah, it has been, I guess, nearly a month since the backpack was found. They still haven't found Patty, but the search does seem to be going on again for her. So maybe they will find something, and if they do, we'll let you know.
Yeah, and at least this is something that has pointed them to at least a more specific area.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so today we're going to talk about a case that is a bit older. In my mind, 2001 seems like, oh, it's just like a few years ago, but it was not. So we're going to be talking about Robert Fisher. He is an American man. He's been on the run from police since 2001, or at least he's.
They haven't found him. Yeah.
They haven't found him. We don't know if he's literally on the run, but he allegedly, I mean, we say allegedly, but like, murdered his family, his wife Mary and their 2 children, Bobby and Brittney, and then blew up their home in Scottsdale, Arizona. He basically killed them, then pulled the gas line to the house so that it would fill with gas and lit a candle, which I hate to say it, but very smart because it gave him like a 10-hour head start, I think it said. And then the house ended up blowing up. And it like, I also read that he put like gasoline all over. So like this house blew up. But yeah, pretty interesting plan. And he clearly put a lot of thought into this. But he then went on the run and he hasn't been seen since. So he was on the FBI's 10 most wanted list from 2001 until 2021 when he was removed because it no longer really met the criteria. We'll talk about that a little further on in the episode too.
1, 2.
Before Robert Fisher wound up one of the FBI's 10 most wanted.
Happy birthday, dear Brittney.
He was a dad to Brittney and Bobby.
Don't say anything.
A husband to Mary.
Mary was sweet. She was, he would probably say she was a little difficult at home, but I think anybody with, everybody has problems. They didn't have any unique problem that was different than anybody else.
Pastor Greg Cantelmo knew Robert and Mary well, the family part of his Scottsdale church. He even still remembers the smoke billowing above their neighborhood.
There are people in there and this whole house exploded.
Friends and investigators don't know for sure why Robert Fisher allegedly murdered his wife and kids, blew up the house, and vanished. But Greg tells me Robert had trouble with his own past.
Part of the difficulty was he had a difficulty with his parents and the divorce that they'd gone through, and so he had told me he'd never go through that again. And yet then there was some difficulty, and I don't know what clicked in his brain to make him do what he did.
Greg recalls Mary, the talkative one. Robert, a part of men's ministry.
He was a quiet guy. I wouldn't say there was any one emotion that really presented itself other than he was just quiet. He was nice, but he was quiet.
A police report that spans more than 400 pages details Robert Fisher's life. He enlisted in the Navy, tried and failed to become a Navy SEAL, a former firefighter, and a man who people recall had odd behavior. Quote, a photograph of Robert was found in which he was covered from his head to waist in animal blood, standing next to a deer he killed. Described as an outdoorsman. Different theories exist. Did he take his own life? His body never found in the woods? Or is he alive somewhere, perhaps watching this story right now?
So we'll start with some background information about him before we get into the crime. He was born Robert William Fisher on April 13th, 1961 in Brooklyn, New York. His father is William Fisher and his mother is Jan Howell. And he also had 2 sisters. His parents divorced when he was a teen, and he apparently had a very hard time with the separation, and it seems like it kind of haunted him like his whole life, this divorce between his parents. He and his sisters then moved in with their dad, and they lived in Arizona. They attended high school in Tucson, and one of Robert's friends from high school remembered him being very bitter about his parents' divorce. It was also said that Robert had exceptional hunting skills and that he was known for being an outdoorsman. In 1987, he married a woman named Mary Cooper. She was born in Chicago on October 3rd, 1962, and the 2 of them had 2 children together named Brittney and Robert Jr., who he went by Bobby. Brittney was born on April 27th, 1988, and Bobby was born on September 21st, 1990. So Robert joined the U.S. Navy for a period of time, and he attempted to join the SEALs, but he was not successful. He then became a firefighter in California, but had to retire following a back injury. After this, he moved his family to Arizona and began working in the medical field. He worked as a surgical catheter tech and a respiratory therapist. He was employed by the Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale in 2001 at the time of the murders. It's like, how does he have the time to be doing all these different careers?
And totally different careers, like not even just, a little bit, just totally different.
Yeah, like, I don't know if it was different then. You need some type of degree or training, I'm imagining, to be a catheter tech and a respiratory therapist.
I think so. And he wasn't even that old when this all happened. So, yeah, he had a very varied professional life.
Friends have also described Robert as being cruel towards his family. He and Mary fought about sex and money. And Mary ended up getting a job, and she told friends it was because she needed a security fund and needed to be able to buy clothes and toys for the kids. So it seems like he was probably controlling all the money, and like she kind of wanted a backup plan in case she needed to get out, and also to be able to buy stuff for the kids because he seems like a jerk.
Yep.
A Scottsdale police detective wrote in a summary of an interview with a family friend that Robert was an ultra control freak. He said he would tell the kids what time to get up, what time to go to bed, what clothes to wear, what to eat, which out of context, it's like, it's not what parents do, but I get what they're saying.
Yeah.
Robert also refused to ever take his family to Disneyland because this is where his parents had their last screaming fight before their divorce. So he's clearly very bitter about this divorce.
Yeah.
Robert allegedly told friends that he believed his life would have been very different if his mother had not left the family. So hates women. AZ Central reported in 2002 on some other alleged abuse by Robert towards his family. One thing was that Robert allegedly turned a garden hose on Mary after she spoke up against him, which is just ridiculous. And another thing was that Robert wouldn't let Mary paint the walls in their home anything but white, and he had to approve the photos that were displayed. So it just seems like an absolute control freak, like the detective was saying. One of Mary's friends told police several times her mother had made special things like quilts. She wasn't allowed to hang them up. She had to store them in a closet. And then he would continually tell her, "Isn't it time you got rid of this stuff?" Bobby, the son, didn't like to hunt or fish, and Robert was said to be very embarrassed about this. He asked a friend, will he grow out of it? Robert also decided to teach his kids to swim by throwing them off a boat. Another friend told police about this and said they were crying and Brittney was screaming, and he pulled them back into the boat and said, "Now there, how's that?" So kind of unhinged, just toss your kids into I think it was like a lake or something, not even just like a pool.
Yeah.
unhinged either way, to just be like, good luck. At one point, Robert had a dog called Ruger that he adored. A friend said that he alternated between being cold and angry towards his family, but showed adoration towards his dog. A friend said he was talking about getting home to the kids and there was no emotion. And then started talking about his dog. I remember telling him, Robert, you sound like you're talking about some girl. So very much loved the dog.
Yeah.
One of Robert's close friends was Pastor Kenneth Hodgson. According to AZ Central, Robert once played a joke on him, if you can call it a joke. He went to Kenneth's home and pointed a pistol at his friend's head. Kenneth said, he let me see the bullet go in, but he decocked it right at my head. And then he goes, isn't that cool? Douche. Robert's friends also saw him display some strange behavior on hunting trips. He killed an elk once and began smearing the blood on his face, which I was reading about this on Reddit a little, and some people were like, oh no, it's like something that people do. But I don't know. I think that's weird.
Yeah.
Especially given the context of the situation, or in hindsight.
Definitely.
There was also an incident where Robert shot a stray dog, and he said it was because the animal attacked his dog, but police have also that they believe that he set up so that he could purposefully shoot the stray dog. Just gross. Robert and Mary's marital issues were very evident to everyone. His pastor friend Kenneth said divorce was not an option. Kenneth counseled the couple after Robert had a one-night stand with a sex worker that he met in a massage parlor, and Robert was very worried that he'd picked up a UTI after the encounter. Like a urinary tract infection?
I don't know, but I feel like that's probably the least of your worries.
Yeah. One of their former neighbors said they did not have a happy marriage. They screamed constantly. Everybody heard it. You could hear it in the house next door. And you never really heard him scream, which is kind of weird. I mean, he had a way about him, but you never heard him scream. You always heard his wife screaming. Things like, you're worthless. I could have done better than you. We should get a divorce. It's like you think that being like, oh, you never heard him screaming would be a good thing, but again, in hindsight, that's very like eerie in a way, because he seems very calculated, and I don't know the word.
Yeah,
just calculated,
manipulative, and calculating.
Yeah. Robert had previously told friends that he had thought of taking his own life due to the state of his marriage. In the months prior to April 2001, Robert began to withdraw from church activities. He told a hunting friend that he could not live without his family, possibly hinting that he would consider suicide over divorce. In the weeks before the murder, Mary started telling friends that she was planning to divorce Robert.
So on the night of Monday, April 9th, 2001, neighbours reported that they heard a large argument happening inside the Fisher home, and this was said to be around 10 p.m, so we can assume that Mary was still alive at that point. At 10:43 p.m, Robert was spotted on a camera at an ATM. He withdrew $280, and Mary's Toyota 4Runner vehicle can be seen in the footage. There's actually like CCTV stills of him. He's got a hat on. He's like looking down, withdrawing the money. The car's in the background, and then he turns around and walks back to the car. Police have said that the murders likely happened between 9:30 p.m. and 10:15 p.m, so Robert's family were already dead at the point that he went to get the cash out. At 8:42 a.m, so 10-ish hours later, on Tuesday, April 10th, 2001, the Fisher house exploded. The blast was strong enough to collapse a brick wall, and houses in a 1/2 mile radius had their frames rattled.
The big fire, like, blew up. The house just exploded and ignited on fire.
20 years later, many have forgotten the name, Robert Fisher.
There are people in there, and this whole house exploded.
But they still remember this raging fire, an effort to conceal a horrific crime scene, according to police. As soon as the smoke cleared, amid the burned rubble of what was once a family home, 3 bodies.
Mary was shot, and her throat was cut, and both Bobby and Brittney had their throats slashed, almost from ear to ear.
The prime suspect, husband and father, Robert Fisher.
There's a ton of photos of the house. It's like a fireball, essentially. It's not just kind of like a normal house fire. It does look absolutely decimated, destroyed. It would have been
if you look at the
blast.
pictures, there's like nothing left. Everything is just like dust and ash, basically.
Yeah. So neighbours rushed out with garden hoses to try and extinguish the flames before firefighters arrived. When they did arrive, the flames reached a height of 20 feet or 6 meters, and they had to work to keep it spreading from other properties. Firefighters were unable to get too close to the home as secondary explosions kept occurring. It's believed that these were caused either by rifle ammunition or paint cans. So kind of the insinuation is that he set it up so that they couldn't get too close to extinguish the fire quickly. Investigators discovered that the gas line from the house's furnace had been pulled, and that was then ignited by a candle that it's assumed that Robert had lit. This would have taken hours, as we mentioned, and given him time to flee the scene. It's believed that he had a 10-hour head start on law enforcement after the explosion and the murders. So when they were able to enter the house, they found the burned bodies of Mary, Brittney, and Bobby were lying in their beds. Mary was 38 years old, Brittney was 12, and Bobby was 10. Autopsies were conducted, and it was discovered that Mary had been shot in the back of the head, and Brittney and Bobby had had their throats slashed from ear to ear. So the family did have a dog at the time. It was called Blue, and the dog was not found on the property. Police theorized that Robert's motive for the murders was that Mary planned to leave him and that he didn't want his children to endure a divorce like he had as a child. Police found a safe inside the home that had survived the fire and released photos of what was found inside. So there's like a gun, it's a Beretta case with a gun in it, kind of like Bowie hunting knives. There's 5 rifles. There's also an empty revolver case, which they've like posted a photo of the empty case, and that is the gun that police believe was the murder weapon. So Robert was named as an official person of interest on April 14th, 2001. He's the only person who has been named in the case. It's thought that Robert fled in Mary's Toyota, as he was seen on the CCTV with the car in the background, and it wasn't found at the home. On April 20th, 2001, the car was found in the Tonto National Forest near Young in Arizona. This is around 100 miles north of Scottsdale. So there's photos of the car when it was found. It's kind of been driven under the canopy of some trees. Like it's not totally hidden, but would be slightly hidden, I guess. Blue, who was the family's dog, was found in the vehicle. The dog was said to be hungry and agitated and had taken shelter under the car. In the footage from the ATM that we mentioned from the night of the murders, Robert was seen wearing an Oakland Raiders hat, and an identical one of those was found inside the car. Human feces was found in a pile near the passenger door of the car, which is kind of a weird thing. But
yeah,
I don't even know why he would have done it there. But anyway.
May really had to go.
Yeah. So the area where the car was discovered is known for having dozens of caves in the vicinity. Police have said that have been said to have searched the area surrounding the car, but they only searched one of the caves. So I've actually been listening to a podcast about this case called Missing in Arizona. It's by the same guy who did Missing on 911 about Snea and Phillip. It's a very good podcast. It's long form. It's only about this case. But he goes into a lot of detail about the caves. He actually tried to go in one of the caves. And when, I don't know, for me personally, when I think caves, I think, kind of a big opening. You just walk into it, it's dark. There's probably bats, stereotypical cave. But some of these caves are so tight. Like basically he said he had to leave one. He couldn't go in there. It was too claustrophobic for him. Like
it's my worst nightmare.
Some of them you have to crawl. It's not like these are very hidden, secretive caves. They're not kind of wide caves where you just go and explore and have a look around. These are ones that experienced cavers would need to know how to crawl, how to get through. Like it's wild. It's not like some of these ones, if you're a certain size, you can't fit in them because it's not wide enough for you to crawl through. Just very, very tight, discreet, hidden caves. So people who are familiar with the caves in the area have theorized that Robert hid in one of them before either escaping or dying. They said he possibly hid in the cave and left once police activity in the area had reduced, or maybe he died from low oxygen levels and his remains have never been found. The third theory is that he took his life in one of the caves, but people have been in and out of these caves over the past decades and no sign of Robert has ever been found. They haven't found any of his belongings, any human remains, anything like that in any of the caves in the area. There were footprints from the Toyota that led to a nearby Indian reservation. According to the Missing in Arizona podcast, the footprints did not match the size of Robert's feet. They go into quite a lot of detail about this, and basically some podcasts do say that they were his footprint size, but he had very small feet for such a tall man. So they go into it basically in the Missing in Arizona podcast how the footprints likely did not belong to him. Either way, though, the police never searched the reservation. Before the car was found, a couple saw a man who looked like Robert walking along a nearby road. I'm guessing by this point, they had the bolos out for him. His photo had been in the media before the car was found. The woman apparently told her husband, quote, "That looks like Robert Fisher," but they didn't report the sighting until after the vehicle was found. A friend of the family, Laurie Greenback, told police that her husband and Robert had previously gone camping in the area where the car ended up being found. And Laurie has said that they now believe that at the time that they went camping, Robert was scouting the area in preparation of the crime and kind of looking for an area where he knew he could dump the car, and that he was very familiar with the terrain in the area. On July 19th, 2001, a warrant was issued for Robert. He was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of arson. He was declared to be a fugitive and was charged by the U.S. District Court for the District of Arizona with unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. In June 2002, so a year and a bit after the murders, Robert was added to the FBI's 10 most wanted list. He was the 475th criminal to be placed on the list. The FBI have offered a reward of up to $100,000 for information in the case. I believe the reward is still active even though he's been removed from the list, but even back then that would have been quite a massive amount of money.
Yeah.
By April 2003, 2 years after he allegedly murdered his family, the FBI had received, quote, hundreds and hundreds of leads. There has never been a confirmed sighting of Robert. All reported sightings have said to have been false or inconclusive, and they haven't been able to prove that it was him. Sightings of Robert have come in from all over the world, which I feel is kind of part of the mystery of this case. People have said they've seen him basically everywhere. People in his old neighborhood have reported seeing someone who resembled him driving in the area, kind of checking out the house and the remnants of the house. A man who looked very similar to Robert was arrested in Vancouver, Canada in 2004. This sighting is discussed at length in the podcast Missing in Arizona. A man apparently became suspicious of his ex-wife's new partner who looked like Robert. This man was missing a tooth in the same location as Robert, and he also had a scar in the same position on his back. The man was held by the RCMP for a week before it was determined that his fingerprints did not match Robert's, because Robert was, tried to be in the Navy SEALs and he was a firefighter, so they have his fingerprints on file. There was speculation that the man had somehow altered his fingerprints, but police have said there was no scarring to suggest this was the case. So you can this is the non-scientific explanation, but you can essentially burn your fingerprints off so that you don't leave a trace. But when looking at someone's hands, you'd be able to tell that had been done.
Yeah, so look messed up.
The Missing in Arizona podcast also discusses a sighting of Robert in Australia. I couldn't find much more information about this online. It was just from the podcast. But an American family were on vacation when they were certain they saw Robert. They called police and eventually the man was tracked down and it was determined that it wasn't him. In October 2014, police raided a house in Commerce City, Colorado after they got a tip that Robert was hiding there. 2 people in the house were arrested, but there was no sign of Robert. In 2016, the FBI released age-progressed photos of Robert. This marked the 15th anniversary of the murders of his family. The photos are online. Would they be helpful? Maybe. I don't know. He's a very generic-looking guy. There's nothing real distinctive about him. In the photo,
I've seen this guy.
Yeah, basically. I'll probably see this guy again today. But
I've seen many of this guy.
Where he's got a beard and stubble and, a few more wrinkles. Maybe, I guess, it might jog someone's memory, but it kind of seems like a token gesture.
In 2 days, it will be 15 years since a mother, Mary Fisher, and her 2 children, Brittney and Robert Jr., were brutally murdered in their home in Scottsdale, Arizona. The only suspect, Robert Fisher, Mary's husband and the children's father, has yet to be brought to justice. Fisher is one of the FBI's 10 most wanted. The FBI and the Scottsdale Police Department continue to work aggressively to locate and arrest Fisher. Towards this end, we have some new age-enhanced photos of Fisher. If you think you see or have seen Fisher, please call 1-800-CALL-FBI. Again, 1-800-CALL-FBI. Fisher is considered armed and dangerous, so do not approach him or try to apprehend him.
In November 2021, so not too long ago, Robert was removed from the FBI's 10 most wanted list. This was despite him never, still to this day, being found. He was replaced by the alleged leader of MS-13 from Honduras. As we mentioned, he was and is still wanted by the FBI, but they made a statement about why they took him off the list. They said because the extensive publicity Fisher's case received during its nearly 20 years on the list has not resulted in his successful location and or capture, the case no longer fulfills that requirement.
My personal opinion is time is against us to believe that he's still alive.
The FBI announced Wednesday they're taking Fisher off the FBI's top 10 most wanted list and instead replacing him with the alleged leader of the MS-13 gang for all of Honduras. The FBI says the reason they're removing Fisher is because one of the criteria to make the list is the need for publicity to help locate and capture the fugitive. Fisher's case has gotten a lot of attention over the past 2 decades, but he's still on the run. So for that reason, the FBI says the case no longer fulfills that requirement. This is only the 11th time a fugitive has been removed from the list in over 70 years, unless they were caught, died, or had their charges dropped.
I'm not happy about it.
TJ Duran is the retired Scottsdale PD detective who worked the Fisher case from day one. He believes it can never have too much publicity.
I believe he's still alive. I actually believe he's the John List of our generation. That's my belief. People know he's out there. They know where to look at a picture for him.
But despite the FBI changing Fisher's status, nothing will change at Scottsdale Police. Finding Robert Fisher is still a priority.
So if you're wondering about how the FBI do pick people to be on the list, they must be based on 2 factors. The person must be dangerous or have a record of serious crimes, and the FBI must believe nationwide publicity will help find the suspect. Scottsdale Police Detective John Heinzelman, the lead detective who's currently assigned to the case, spoke at the time in 2021 about being told that Robert was being removed from the list. He said, "Okay, that's fine by me. It doesn't really change anything I'm doing." He said in 2021, he was still getting about 2 or 3 tips a week or around 100 leads a year. He said, "We're still looking for him, no different than before." Special Agent Taylor Hanna also spoke and said, "We don't know exactly what happened, and I think their families, both Robert and Mary's, deserve that information at this time." So there are, I guess, really 3 main theories about what happened to Robert: that he managed to escape, dump the car, and he's living a new life somewhere under an assumed identity. He killed himself, and that his body has, for some reason, not been found. And then I guess the third one is that he was on the run for weeks or years or a period of time, but he has since died, and people just aren't aware that he has died. I guess one thing to remember in this case is that this did happen pre-9/11, so kind of getting in and out of the country was a little bit easier. He probably could have fled to Mexico or South America or something without a passport, or at least it would have been easier for him than it would have been today. So I do think there is probably the possibility that he is alive somewhere. I just feel like probably, though, he did take his own life and he just hasn't been found. I feel like it's unlikely that there wouldn't have been at least one confirmed sighting of him over all these years. It would be very, very hard to hide basically in plain sight that whole entire time.
Yeah. I feel like my first thought is that he went into the caves and died and they just can't find his body.
I just think, the one thing that makes me think is that it's now been so long, but I guess if he was experienced and he just kept going, maybe he's under some crevice or something and he just really hasn't been found.
I don't know, because I was thinking about it before, because I didn't realize that Blue, the dog that was left, wasn't the same dog that he loved so much, apparently.
Ruga.
And then I was like, well, I mean, I would assume he'd love this dog so much too, but then he shot a stray dog, so who knows? He's just insane. But I was thinking, would he really just leave his pet dog like that if he was going on the run or something? Would he try to bring the dog? But I guess that could also make him more identifiable. But I don't know. I just have a feeling. I think I just don't want to give him too much credit. He's not out here living off the grid all these years. He's definitely most likely dead.
I do wonder
and I think he
if
died soon after.
His plan was to take his own life. Why he just didn't do it in the house with the family? Why bother going on the run and hiding? Maybe that kind of leads more to the theory that something happened to him and he died accidentally in the cave while trying to wait out police or something like that. But it just seems weird. If his ultimate end goal was to take his own life, why didn't he just do it in the house?
And he did say he can't live without his family. But I think he's such a freak that he because I saw people saying that they think he's too narcissistic to kill himself, but I honestly feel like he's such a freak that he probably plotted this all, and he was like, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to create this big mystery that people are going to talk about for years because they're not going to be able to find me and figure out what happened. I feel like he would want that, and that could have been his goal.
Also, like we've mentioned that he camped, he hunted, he was probably able to survive for a period of time off the grid, essentially. So maybe it was almost a game to him to see how long he could do it. And then eventually he took his own life when he realized that he could no longer do it, or he died of some other misadventure or some other, do you know what I mean? Like some other way out in the elements. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if he just thought the whole thing was a bit of a game.
Yeah. And I did see, for those wondering, I saw that the dog was rehomed to a nice family and had a nice life.
The lady who took the dog, I believe she was actually she had other dogs that she used in the search for the case, and she was the one who ended up taking the dog. So she's in the podcast, the Missing in Arizona podcast. She said the dog lived a great life and was a beautiful dog.
Because my first thought was like, what happened to the dog?
I am interested too about the pile of human excrement at the car. Like, I don't know, why do it? Like, very strange. Why do it there?
Either he really had to go, or that was also just like a fuck you to everyone.
Yeah. So I guess, like, obviously there's probably some other outlandish theories, but they are the main three likely possibilities. I found some interesting points of discussion online as well. A lot of people have questioned how Robert got out of the area where he dumped the car, if he did get out of the area. So obviously he could be in one of the caves still, but did he hitchhike? Was he helped out of there by a friend? Was someone else helping him to escape, which I guess adds another layer of discussion to the case? Is someone hiding him? Did someone help him to get out of the country or out of the area?
I feel like someone would have talked by now too. Like if there was for that much money too.
The detective John Heinzelman has spoken about possibilities about where Robert could be or what would have happened. He said he could be living in a small town where he gets paid cash and he works as a handyman, or he could be in a big city and blend in. He said maybe this is the best we have, knowing he did it and never finding him again. So the host of Missing in Arizona, John Walsack, has this opinion. And this is a guy who's spent years and years and years researching. His whole entire podcast, hour-long episodes, is dedicated just to this case. He said, after 2 years of researching this, I very strongly think that Robert Fisher is alive, and I'm working this hard because I want to find him. I think that Robert Fisher planned this out. I think that he left the SUV in the forest as a diversion and that someone drove him out of there and he escaped. So obviously there was rumors that he was having an affair. So I guess, the woman could have helped him if that was the case. But I don't know. I personally feel like it's unlikely that he is still alive. Maybe he was for a period of time after all this, but I feel like it's unlikely.
I was going to say, oh yeah. And I was just thinking while you were talking about why I'm like, nah, he definitely kill himself. I'm not giving him like this credit. I also just don't want to think that he's like out there living his life, doing whatever he wants, happy. Like I just want him to be dead in a cave. So that's what I'm going with.
It's just, it's such the mentality of if I can't have you, no one will. Like, they could have got divorced. They could have.
And how he was like, I don't want my kids to go through the divorce like I did as a kid. Okay, so kill them.
I'm going to slit their throats so they don't go through that.
And have them have slitting their throats and just letting them essentially choke and drown in their own blood. Yeah, that's much better than just getting fucking divorced and letting them live with their probably nice mom.
Yeah. So as we mentioned, as of October 2024, Robert is still missing. He could be dead somewhere, but I guess really he could be anywhere. FBI agent Bob Caldwell has said that Robert is arrogant, he's cocky, he's a know-it-all and a loner. So just some kind of distinguishing characteristics of Robert. He was known to chew tobacco and he favoured the Copenhagen brand. They've said his look has been described as average, which I would also believe.
Literally.
But it says he walks sometimes in an odd erect manner with his chest out due to a back problem stemming from the injury he suffered as a firefighter. As we mentioned, he is an avid hunter and an avid fisherman, so could possibly be, living off the grid or, hiding somewhere. They have said that Robert is still considered armed and extremely dangerous and that he has ties to Florida and New York City. There's an FBI most wanted poster with basically there's photos of him on there from 1997, 1999, and they put the age enhanced photos on there. At the time, he was 6 foot. He was 190 pounds. He does have small feet, according to the other podcast, which is kind of an interesting characteristic for a 6 foot man. There is still to this day a bunch of discussion online, I guess, because it does seem mysterious and there are all these possibilities. This was a comment just from 2 months ago on Reddit. It says, I'm the last person to see Robert. I'm as honest as I can. I'm being as honest as I can. I saw him in North Powder, Oregon in the marsh while on a hike. He's clean shaved and I said hi to him and he's very chill now. Obviously, I called the cops, but MF was already gone. Mind you, the parking lot was 7 miles from where I seen him. This was 3 weeks ago. He was wearing cargo shorts and a black and orange striped t-shirt. So
All right,
if you
relax,
Google his
Aiden.
name, and especially on Reddit, there's a bunch of people claiming they saw him in certain places. I highly doubt it, but I guess stranger things have happened.
He really just does have that look of like, if you went into your small, shitty local town bar, he's the guy who's there that sits in exactly the same spot and gets exactly the same beer, and he's always there and you always see him. Like, you have to have a person like that, and you have to know that look. Like, he would be that guy. He just looks like that guy.
I agree.
So I don't know if these people really think they're seeing him because he just has such an average look, or it's probably also just people wanting to insert themselves for attention and drama.
There are, like, even though this happened now all these years ago, there was an article a month ago. Robert Fisher's family was murdered in 2001 in their Scottsdale home. He remains at large. Like, every year there's articles, I guess, around the anniversary that kind of get recycled and put back out. And with the other podcast, I guess, too, it's kind of reignited interest in the case. But yeah, it is. I feel like surely he must still be in that area for there to have been no trace of his movements since he dumped the car.
Yeah, and I just
surely,
maybe I'm the stupid one, but I've said this with a few podcasts. I just don't think it's that easy for someone to start a new life, live off the grid, undetectable, or have a totally new, different identity very easily for all these years and have no one figure it out. Especially in this day and age. Maybe like when there's less technology, less stuff going on, less internet. But today, I think it'd be very hard.
Even like I know that we're saying it's hard, and I do absolutely agree. But there was even one of the members of our group. Do you remember Tiffany Booth? She was murdered, and her partner Eduardo is apparently still on the run. And he was way more distinctive looking than this guy. Like, he was, I think, 300 pounds at one stage, and he lost a lot of weight. So, like, it is possible. But then I also wonder in these cases,
he's probably dead too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. When everyone is said to be on the run, are they really, or have they just died somewhere and haven't been?
I can't give these men this much credit. I can't. I just can't.
I know. So that's it for the chronological case of Robert Fisher and his family. Still apparently missing. I wonder if we'll ever know. Maybe it's one of those cases where, you know, the mystery will just be ongoing.
Yeah, and that's why people will talk about it forever. Because we said even with the Patreon one we just kind of did, it's very choose your own adventure. You can come up with any theory essentially as to what you think happened.
Yeah.
And people online love to do that. So that's really it for this episode. Love to hear what you guys think about it. Don't tell me I'm stupid because I think he's dead, please, because I'm sure someone will write a dissertation about, like, well, actually, just our opinions. But yeah, I would like to hear what you guys think about it. So let us know in the comments on Instagram or wherever. Everything will be on the blog at truecrimesocietyblog.com. And if you want to listen to our podcast ad-free and get the episodes a day earlier and weekly bonus episodes, check us out on Patreon. We do all those things there. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, of course, because that's kind of where we post the most. So we post lots of updates with all different cases there at True Crime Society. If you want to follow our personal accounts, mine is _, Olivia's TCS Olivia. You can see what we're up to. And all the usual stuff. If you can leave us some nice reviews and nice comments, and if you guys share the podcast to like your Instagram stories, it's a big help to kind of spread the word, get some other people to listen to. We appreciate all those things. That's all though for now. We'll be back next week with another episode. So thank you guys for listening and stay safe out there. Peace out.